We're now going to hear the testimony of Tijuyong. Tijuyong was a 33-year-old construction worker when he was wounded in 1989. He was shot in both legs in the early hours of June 4. He had both legs amputated following the gunshot wounds. His work unit told him that if he agreed to sign a form saying that his injuries were caused by a work-related incident, instead of what happened on June 4, then they would grant him normal retirement benefits. Tijuyong refused to do so. Tijuyong became a member of the Tiananmen Mothers Group and had been actively involved in the rights defense movement. He was subjected to constant harassment by the police. His health deteriorated due to his leg injuries and lack of medical insurance. He died on 2nd of January this year. In what follows, we will hear an excerpt of his testimony recorded in an interview when he was alive. We'll first broadcast his testimony in Chinese, and then we'll have a volunteer to read out a shortened translation in English.
幺二弹升空的这个时候呢，大约是6月4号凌晨1点20分左右。我在胡同里呢，看到长街上基本上没有人群走动了，只听到枪声，枪声。我站在那里呢，往西呢看到装甲车上有火光。就在这个时候呢，我的一位住在石碑胡同，也就是国家大剧院的那个地方，那个胡同里边，有我的一个同事，他说：“哟，小齐，你怎么上这儿来了？怎么还没回家呢？”我说：“你怎么也不没回家啊？你怎么在这儿？你们家不就住在国家大剧院那边那个石碑胡同吗？”他说：“我出来去厕所、卫生间，现在我回不去了，因为我们家那个胡同里头全是坦克和装甲车和军人，我也回不去了。”这时候我俩正在交谈的时候，我的身后，也就是我所站的位置的西边，来了一辆解放牌大卡车。这个车呢，还有这个汽车棚子，也是有帆布的棚子，隔着帆布，里边的士兵就开枪，就打射出了子弹，然后他们跳了下来，3人一组背靠背，还有3个人一组小跑，蹲姿，手持冲锋枪，跳到东西两侧的长街上，向人群开枪。可以说，就在这一瞬间啊，我也看到了戒严部队当兵的手持冲锋枪，头戴钢盔，身穿绿色军装，挽着袖子，只有左胳膊上有一条白色的毛巾，也没有领到帽徽。当时我好像看到，但我也看到了，这子弹也射过来了。我觉得是子弹打在了腿上，我用手一捂左腿，其实他一打，这一开枪是连发。据当兵的说，连发的子弹，这一梭子是5颗子弹。当时我是左右腿全都中弹了，我旁边4、5个人都倒下了，也就是说我们同时倒下了。我本能的喊出了“救命啊！救命啊！”这些个军人啊，戒严部队是边开枪边跑步往前走。我一喊救命，跑散的人群呢，听到我喊救命，他们就说：“快回来，还有一个活着的。”有人喊救命，大家就回来了，救了我。当时那里的老百姓也不知道怎么来帮我，只有一个小伙子，他是新买的白衬衫，给撕了一条一条的， 把我的腿给包扎上了。还一位好心的人把他们家的门，因为他是平房，北京四合院，他们用那个大木门当做担架，给我抬到了这条胡同，也就是6步口医院厅后面，还有一个北京第2医院，抬到了那里。可是没想到到了北京第2医院门口，大门紧闭，那里的工作人员、值班人员说：“对不起，我们这个医院昨天已经接到通知了，也就是说6月2号，我们已经接到通知了，停诊，这是上级的命令，我们要停诊，不接待任何病人。所以没办法，这些人就把我赶紧的就抬到和平门那里有一个急救中心。从我中弹的西荣线胡同到北京市急救中心，少说也有4里地。当到了急救中心这一看，甭说里面了，大楼里面的病床，就说门外呢，全都是受伤的人，躺在地上，有一些大学生的志愿者，还有市民自发的。当时就连给伤病员输液的架子都没有了，都是人用手拿着，高高的举起来输液。这些好心的市民把我抬到那儿以后，我隐隐约约看到一个好似大学生模样的志愿者，他说我是北大医学院的，北医科大学的。说这是怎么回事？抬我去的人就说他中弹了，被枪打的，你看看他的2腿都在流血。当时他呢，这个大夫摸了摸我大腿根的主动脉，摸了摸我大腿根，说他这是大动脉出血，已经击穿了他的动脉血管，很危险。他立刻给我更换了止血带。当这个大夫给我更换了止血带之后，说实在对不起，现在医务人员和大夫以及抢救的器材都已经很紧张了。现在这病人能够转走的，最好是转移，不要在这儿了，因为这儿只是个急救中心，也没有这个能力来安置他们了。所以干脆你们呢还是奔南城去吧，那可能还好一点，其他的医院恐怕都被伤病员住满了。赶巧了，这时候呢来了一辆呢这个面包车，这个面包车呢是后开门的面包车，上面呢有2个受伤的市民躺在那个面包车里面那个凳子上。大夫说呢，这俩打哪儿了？是哪里受伤了？一个说呢是被坦克压的，一个是呢胸部中弹了。他简单看了看，进行了一下消毒棉也好什么的处置了一下。大夫说这2个人不要抬下来了，把这个伤员也带走了，你们去南城的宣武医院了。这样我就跟着他们，跟着这辆车就去了宣武医院。
We're going to have a volunteer reading the English transcript.
On the evening of June 3rd, my fellow workers and I went to Tiananmen Square. We had been too busy during the daytime to go and see the goddess of democracy, so we decided to go there in the evening to take a look. There were people reading big character posters, and I sat down on the ground. At 11 o'clock, there was an announcement over the speakers. If you don't leave the square, you will bear the consequences. A cyclist shouted at the crowd, "Run! They've opened fire in Mushidi. They are killing people." We went towards the north gate of the Great Hall of the People, where we saw an armored vehicle crushing the barriers on the road. People around us were terrified and ran in all directions. I went to Xirongxian Alley. Suddenly I heard gunshots. I saw a signal flare rising to the east. It was about 1:20 in the morning of June 4th. I bumped into a friend. He said he couldn't go home because the alley was packed with tanks. We talked as we listened to the gunshots, guessing that they were probably rubber bullets. Just as we said those words, several soldiers in camouflage with rifles ran up to us from the left. There was no time to hide. Suddenly I fell to the ground. I had been shot in the leg. I covered my left leg with my hand, blood spurting out like a fountain. I cried out for help. Several people ran over. A young man took off his shirt, tore it into strips and bound up my legs with them. An old lady took from home a door plank with which people carried me to the nearby city hospital. However, the hospital had received orders not to take any patients, so people carried me to an emergency medical center 2 kilometers away. There I saw wounded people lying on the ground. Some were receiving blood transfusions. A doctor checked my wounds and noticed that I was bleeding from a major artery. They applied tourniquets on my legs to control the bleeding. The doctor told me that I would need to go to another hospital with better medical facilities. I was transported to Xuanwu Hospital, where I had an operation that lasted for 6 hours. Several days later, my left leg began to swell, which resulted in another operation to reduce the swelling. On June the 13th, the doctor decided to amputate my leg due to poor circulation. He asked my mother to give her written permission for the surgery. When my mother heard the word amputation, she began to cry. I gave birth to a child with healthy arms and legs. My son was shot by the PLA. His leg is to be amputated. What crime did he commit? I was devastated. Born and growing up under the red flag, I had always dreamed to become a soldier to defend the motherland. I could have never imagined that I would be crippled by the bullets of the People's Liberation Army. On July the 16th, I had a second amputation due to infection. My work unit was reluctant to pay for my medical expenses. On August the 7th, 2 soldiers, a policeman and 2 doctors from the hospital took me in a car to my work unit. A doctor said to the director, "We treated 273 people in our hospital. Your employee and a university student are the only 2 whose expenses have not yet been paid." Only then did the unit make the payment. I lost my job afterwards. They gave me 50 yuan each month for living expenses and a subsidy for non-staple foods. My wife left me. I took my 7-year-old son to live with my mother. I started to practice walking with crutches. Not used to them, I fell and broke my right arm and had to stay in bed for another month. After that, I set up a peddler's stand near home and tried to make a basic living.
Now that it's dark, I would like to invite you to light your candles if you haven't done so. I think there's also candles going around.
Maybe you can use a smartphone and turn on.
You can turn on your smartphone torches. I'd like to announce the next speaker, Ben Pauls, a socialist internationalist, a local trade union rep in unison and an activist with workers against the CCP. Ben?
He's coming. Hello, my name is Ben. I'm a local trade union activist and an activist with the socialist democracy organisation Workers' Liberty. And thank you for inviting me to bring solidarity today. So recently, as part of Workers Against the CCP, we have been building protests at Apple stores demanding workers' rights from China to here in the UK. The next demonstration is at 2 o'clock this Sunday in Covent Garden. So I invite you to join us there before we go over to the rally at the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office. So Apple makes tens of billions of dollars and pounds of profit every year. How are its profits made? They're made hand in hand with the Chinese state. Its suppliers use forced labor from Uyghurs snatched from their homes. In the Foxconn factories, both Uyghur and Chinese workers are sweated for as long as 87 hours a week. They are forced to forfeit their social insurance. They are bullied. They are sexually harassed, and they've been driven even to suicide. The Chinese state helps Apple and the other corporations to do this by suppressing workers' rights to form free trade unions. They allow only the fake union, the ACFTU, which is controlled by the government. It is not controlled by its members, and it almost never challenges employers. And Apple's exploitation is worldwide, from the mining operations in Congo to our own high streets where retail workers face precarity and discrimination and anti-union bullying. So we can see here how the exploitation in China is part of a global system where the corporations and the state bureaucrats of the CCP get rich off the backs of workers and ordinary people. And we can see how it's in all of our interests, therefore, to unite against them. So one example, the staff in the Apple stores here, they're unionizing, and they're beginning to speak up not only for themselves, but for the Uyghur and the Chinese workers who make the products that they have to sell. So one purpose of those protests we're building is to unite those causes internationally. So when we remember 1989, when we remember the protesters in the square, let's also remember the workers who rose up across the whole of China that year. Tens or hundreds of thousands of blue-collar and white-collar workers stood up for democracy, built independent unions, held pickets, held strikes. They denounced dictatorship, they denounced inequality, and they denounced the officials' profiteering. They discussed a future where democracy could extend not only to the government but to their workplaces, ending the dictatorship of unaccountable managers and owners. They called on the regime to surrender control of industry to be managed by the workers so that the organization of society could be truly democratic. And when martial law was declared, they helped build and hold the barricades against the tanks. Even today, still today, workers' protests erupt over and over again across China. Factory workers demanding unpaid wages, delivery couriers striking for decent pay and simple dignity at work. And in Hong Kong, even though so many unions were forced to disband, couriers and flight attendants, among others, continue to organize and demand their rights. So no matter how hard the state stamps down, it can never stop these embers from reigniting the fire. It's striking that today we are in front of the Chinese embassy and we're beside the Polish embassy. The CCP elites live in fear of what Deng Xiaoping called the Polish disease. They saw how in the 1980s, Solidarność, the workers' union, dealt a fatal blow to the Stalinist dictatorship. So those bureaucrats and those dictators know that in China, in Poland, or anywhere else, nothing moves without workers. And they know that if we realize that power and we organize, we can bring society to a halt and we can bring tyrants to their knees. That is the CCP's nightmare, and it is our hope. And so it's our duty, the duty of trade unionists around the world, to stand in solidarity with the workers and the oppressed people of China, to turn that hope into reality and to finally fulfill the demands of 1989. If we do that, solidarity will win. So solidarity, comrades.
Very much. I would like to invite Ma Jian. No? Oh, first one, yeah, I would like to invite Ohima Mahmood. Ohima Mahmood is a Uyghur human rights activist, singer, and translator. Ohima leads the cross-party, cross-community campaign in the UK against the Uyghur genocide. She's currently the UK director of the World Uyghur Congress, executive director of the Stop Uyghur Genocide, and an advisor to the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance of China.
Thank you for that introduction, and good evening, everyone. And great to see you all here. I have been coming here since I moved to London, and the June 4th for me holds a very personal memory, as I was there one of the many thousand students, although I wasn't a leader or significant person at that time, but I did support the movement, and I believe to be there to support the movement in order to achieve a better life, freedom, democracy. Today we solemnly anniversary of the Tiananmen massacre, a day of profound sorrow and remembrance. On this day, we honor the bravery of those who stood for democracy and human rights in the face of oppression. And we reflect on the tragic loss of countless lives at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. As Uyghurs, we share in the pain and the memory of that dark chapter in history. The Tiananmen massacre is a stark reminder of the CCP's relentless crackdown on any form of dissent and its continued violation of human rights. The same authoritarian regime that brutally suppressed the peaceful protesters in Tiananmen Square has been committing crimes against humanity and a genocide against the Uyghur people for the last 7 years, including mass detentions, systematic torture, forced sterilization, rape, and forced labor. We call on the world to never forget the events of Tiananmen Square and to recognize the ongoing suffering of the Uyghur people. It is imperative that we seek accountability for the crimes committed by the CCP, not only for the massacre, but also for the systematic persecution of Uyghurs and other ethnic and religious minorities. We urge the international community to stand united in condemning the CCP's actions. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the voices of the oppressed are heard and that justice is served. The memory of Tiananmen must fuel our resolve to fight for a future where human rights are respected and freedom is a reality for all. Let us honor the legacy of those who perished on June 4th, 1989, by renewing our commitment to the struggle for human dignity and justice. Together, we must ensure that such atrocities are never repeated, and that the sacrifice made in the pursuit of freedom are never forgotten. Thank you very much. I'd like to add, June 4th shouldn't be only remembered on this day. June 4th should be remembered every day. Every day we should seek accountability. I know the Chinese government become very nervous leading up to June 4th. We should make them nervous every day, because every single day there are people dying. There are people tortured in prisons. not only Uyghurs, not only Tibetans, Mongolians, but also the Chinese people. Therefore, I believe that we should call 调查六四真相，追究土城责任，结束独裁暴政，建设民主联盟。So we need to call this every day. Let's not forget June 4th. Let's not forget those who are crying, who cannot speak. And we should be the voice of all those millions of people in China. And also we must condemn CCP's transnational repression. The transnational repression reached its height. And we've been, even in this free country, we are being threatened. And we've seen many, many incidents. And these incidents won't stop unless we really unite and stand up and stand together. In the end, I believe truth will prevail and we will win. But in order to win, we need to fight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now introduce my gem, the writer. That's where it said.
谢谢大家。刚才我口号，我们再接着喊一喊吧，因为有几个口号还没有喊。OK， 大家能不能跟我一起喊几个口号？结束独裁暴政！结束独裁暴政！建设民主联盟！建设民主联盟！喂，没有声了。
你要进。
要到这个地方才有 ，OK。刚才大家没注意，有很多这个医院的名称，我想坐在后边的人都没有看到。我们能够一起给大家记忆一下啊。我来喊医院的名字，大家跟我一起喊：邮电医院、邮电医院、木樨地、木樨地、协和医院、协和医院。我的意思。
每一个医院都有很多学生们、市民们死在了那个医院里，所以我们把医院的名字念一下：
复兴门、复兴门、铁路医院、铁路医院、六部口、六部口、
儿童医院、
儿童医院、天安门、天安门、同仁医院、同仁医院。我想。
在座的这些朋友们，你们可能跟我一样，都有同样的心情。
我们知道，
那些照片里边的男人、女人，他们都不在了，但是他们的脸正在对着你们，当然也对着我。
我想，在座的今天能够在这里，能够面对大使馆。面对的这个雕像，面对的伦敦，我们只有一个字是共同的，我们都是流亡者。
也许我们再也回不
到中国，
也许中国共产党比你我的寿命还会长，但是我相信，大家今天能够走到这里。能够记住，流亡就是我们的胜利。所以我还要喊一个口号，
因为我突然看到他，大家知道吗？
他是谁吗？我们都不知道。谁知道他是谁？举手。这个雕像，他是波兰的首相，他流亡到了这里。最后他们胜利了，所以今天在座的各位，无论你们戴着口罩不戴口罩，你们都变成了一个流亡者。你们心里边要坚信，35年共产党没有把真相告诉我们，那么他的结果就是灭亡的是他。
我今天发了很多照片。
这些照片
非常奇怪，我以前没有敢发出来。一个主要的原因呢，就是
每个人的脸。比如说，我今天的照片里边有一个
好像6岁或者7岁的一个孩子，在他的爸爸的肩膀上，他举的那个口号是叫“儿童生源”。我今天把那个照片发出来，你们上推特都可以看。我一直不敢发，我就怕有一天共产党会把他给抓进来。但是我今天为什么发了呢？我觉得35年过去了，他已经是个40多岁的人了，他也许跟我们是一个想法，也许不是，也许他是在喊习近平叫什么习大大彭妈妈，我们不知道，所以我想我已经不在乎了。我发了很多照片，很多人的脸，大家在推特上都可以看到。今天我面对大家这么多的脸，我要一句话告诉你们：流亡并不可怕。我在这里流亡了20多年，你们可能刚刚开始，也许你们不习惯，也许你们明年不在这里了，但是今天我看到了很多20年前跟那个演员张铁林在一起都在这里抗议的，还有人在，还坚持走在这里。所以我就说，如果中国共产党没有垮台，没什么可怕的，因为我们都有记忆，我们记住了这些人的脸，我们知道他们给了我们勇气，我们也知道，因为我在写我的书的时候，我每一个人我都要记住，我要到他们的家里头去采访，我经历了太多，所有天安门经历的每一天每一个小时，我都经历了一遍。所以我能够告诉大家的一点就是，当我们记住一个真相的话，他虽然还在掌权，但是他永远是在害怕我们，我们不要去害怕他们，因为他们作贼心虚。在这一点，我非常高兴大家今天都站到了这里，都能够面对这些死去的人，都跟我一起喊出了这。好，我只喊最后一句：为了自由，流亡。
大家再喊一次：为了自由，流亡；
为了自由，流亡；
为了民主，抗议；
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 为了民主，抗议。
好，谢谢大家。
打倒习近平！光复香港！光复香港！光復香港！香港人！香港人！加油 ！China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Down, down!
CCP!
No more!
PRC!
Down, down!
CCP!
No more!
PRC!
Down, down!
CCP!
No more!
PRC!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free East Turkestan!
Free Turkestan!
Free East Turkestan!
Free Turkestan!
Free China!
Free China!
Free China!
Free China!
Victory to democracy! Victory to
Democracy!
Victory to
Democracy!
Victory to
Democracy!
Victory to
Democracy!
Never forget June 4th! Never forget
June 4th!
Never forget
June 4th!
Never forget
June 4th!
Never forget
June 4th!
Shame Xi Jinping!
Shame, Xi Jinping!
Shame, shame!
Xi Jinping!
Down, down!
CCP!
No more!
PRC!
Down, down!
CCP!
No more!
PRC!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
China lies!
People die!
Victory to!
Democracy!
Victory to!
Democracy!
Victory to!
Democracy!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Turkestan!
Free Turkestan!
Free China!
Free China!
Free China!
Free China!
Could you 没有，先让他说，先说完了。
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Thank you very much, and thank you all very much for coming. We're going to sing now together, and I hope to see you next year.
Do you want me to hold this? I don't know.
Bye bye, goodbye.
Oh, it's not. Can I ask why you are here today?
Yes. Do you want me to look at?
Yeah, look at this.
Look at this. Okay. So my name's Dave. I'm an activist with both the Uyghur Solidarity Campaign and also Workers Against the CCP, which is bringing together lots of different campaigns in support of oppressed peoples and in support of workers and independent trade unionists or people who are trying to organize independently of the state among workers to resist the tyranny and the dictatorship of the Chinese Communist Party, to seek freedom, to seek workers' rights and human rights, and national self-determination for the minority nations.
Can I ask why you come here today?
Today, I'm here today because we're commemorating the Tiananmen Square rebellion and the massacre that followed, because I want to make common cause and solidarity with people here who are seeking to support oppressed people in China. Again, the oppressed nations, the oppressed political oppositionists, the democracy campaigners, and trade unionists, independent trade unionists, who are also involved here today as well. We've heard from people who used to be involved, for example, in the Hong Kong trade union movement as well. So I'm here to support all those people. So I think, so as not to be misunderstood, we're not against the Chinese people. We're against the Chinese government and the Chinese state. And the quick way to say that is to say we're against the CCP. So that's the reason.
How would you think about Chinese people?
Sorry?
About Chinese people?
I think Chinese people deserve freedom, deserve human rights, deserve democracy, like any other people around the world. Population of people around the world who are systematically, completely denied some of the everyday freedoms that we take for granted here. For example, the ability to have these rallies, these protests, these demonstrations. I want a greater freedom than we have here in this country, in the UK. Freedom is too limited everywhere. but in China, the level of tyranny is so much greater. It's a qualitatively different authoritarian state, and even to the extent of not being able to assemble, to protest, to speak freely against the government, to organize independent trade unions, and to have public elections for government, for parliament, for local councils, where different political parties can organize and contest those elections. All of those are important, vital, cherished freedoms, and the Chinese people deserve to have all of those, just like every other people around the world. And I want to support the struggle for the Chinese people to have all those freedoms.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Oh, can I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Dave.
Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
还要沉默多久？
下雨了，要走吗？你下雨吗？下雨吗？
你给他找个伞，找个伞。那个刚才我就想问您一个问题，刚才您说流亡，请问您是放弃了吗？为什么您要说？为什么您要说那句话呢？
因为流亡是一种胜利，流亡是对集权的一种抵抗。我就认为，流亡者最终都会取得胜利，就像那个雕像，那是波兰的首相。所以这一点我认为很重要，大家要坚持，因为真正恐惧的是那些把你流亡的那些家伙，而不是你。你被流亡，你不要恐惧，你反而是获得了自由。
那除了不要恐